Chapter 61, Escape. You are listening at NovelsMarvel.audio. After all, the main task of these super soldiers is to monitor Tony Stark. Hundreds of them are just to keep an eye on him. And Tony Stark was told that they are terrorists, and terrorists do not need to rob him. Terrorists don't need to fight with others, right? In addition, the super soldiers have a dispensable attitude towards firearms, and sometimes even load empty magazines into guns. It would be strange for Tony Stark not to notice these details. Ensign also had too many flaws. This second Ensign felt that he had changed the language. Tony Stark should not be able to learn a new language so quickly. However, he did not expect that Tony Stark would learn more quickly when he became serious. Even if Ensign didn't talk much, the occasional words were enough for Tony Stark to sort out the truth. Forget it, it doesn't matter if he ran away, I was going to let him go in the first place. Lucifer said. But you should just destroy him humanely. You can't even look down on a guy who has no fighting ability. It would be a waste to strengthen you into a super soldier. No, boss, that the super soldiers panicked, but they were quickly packed away by people from the Umbrella Company's internal department. The people in this department all have black umbrella logos. They are the Black Umbrella, a department that specializes in handling various dark activities of the Umbrella Company, including the private trading of biological weapons. All employees are second-generation super soldiers. On the other side, after Tony Stark escaped, he used the steel suit and the physical fitness he had developed to successfully get out of Afghanistan and went to the U.S. military base in Afghanistan. The person in charge of a U.S. military base was confused when he saw him. Didn't it mean that Tony Stark had been missing for more than a year and was even confirmed dead? Help me find Colonel Rhodes quickly. Tony Stark passed out after saying that. When he woke up, he was already lying in a large hospital. Tony, next to him was his good friend since childhood, Air Force Colonel James Rhodes, who was also one of the current military and Air Force war machine pilots. You have been missing for more than a year. Where have you been? Rhodes asked worriedly. Rhodes. Tony lamented that he hadn't seen her for more than a year, and it felt like a lifetime ago. He has matured and become different. After communicating with Rhodes and learning that Stark Industries had now become Obadiah's company, Tony Stark didn't think anything of it. Obadiah was still a good uncle to him. After Obadiah learned the news about Tony Stark's return, his face darkened, but he quickly calmed down and asked his secretary to prepare a car for him to visit Tony, who was undergoing examination in the hospital. Tony, Obadiah pushed open the door to the ward, and when he saw Tony, his expression that had been filled with tears for a long time froze, because Tony Stark is not as weak as expected. On the contrary, his face is rosy, and his exposed upper body, chest muscles, abdominal muscles, biceps and other muscles are clearly visible. You said Tony Stark was kidnapped and taken away. No one believed it for many years. After all, this is the fitness cell specially prepared by Lucifer for Tony Stark. He has to forge and beat steel every day. He eats 3 vegetarian meals and 1 meat meal, as well as a hard fiber meal every 2 days. It is very healthy. In order to prevent Tony from becoming dependent on caffeine and alcohol, Tony did not even drink coffee or wine. He could only drink various fruit juices and vegetable juices to detoxify and nourish his skin. Even his skin improved a lot, because he got enough sleep, no nightlife. Tony Stark was full of energy and his eyes were bright. Obadiah, when Tony saw his relatives, he rolled over from the hospital bed so excitedly that Rhodes was stunned for a moment. He knew that Tony was very healthy now, but he didn't say that he was so flexible. Forget it. They have to do physical work for 12 hours a day, and then the super soldiers don't care about the food and have to go to the canteen to grab the food themselves. If they are a step too late, all the animals will eat it up. Lucifer told them that this would train Tony and he would not be cannibalistic if he skipped a meal, as long as he could eat breakfast to prevent him from getting gallstones. In this case, Tony Stark has developed the ability to flexibly climb over obstacles to ensure that he can eat. Because Obadiah was in a wheelchair, Tony could only give him a hug. It'll be good to come back, it'll be good to come back. Obadiah patted Tony's back and felt his palm hurt from the slap. It was too strong. By the way, Tony, while you were away, the police said you might be dead. In order to prevent Stark Industries from going bankrupt, I just... Obadiah was worried that Tony would misunderstand, and quickly wanted to explain the matter. After all, for a person like him, who felt that he judged others by himself, Tony must also value Stark Industries very much. No need to say this, it doesn't matter who owns Stark Industries. By the way, I want to eat a cheeseburger, where's Happy? Tony said nonchalantly. Well, Happy has resigned after you've been missing for over a year. Obadiah said awkwardly. What about Boz? Tony was stunned for a moment, but he wasn't surprised. Then Tony Stark learned that Pepper Potts had jumped ship to the Umbrella Corporation. After all, Pepper Potts was too much, and Obadiah certainly didn't want Pepper Potts to know that he was smuggling Stark Industries weapons, so he hinted to others to exclude Pepper Potts. Pepper Potts was so angry that she went to Umbrella Corporation because Umbrella Corporation offered her an olive branch. After Pepper Potts left, Obadiah found a top management student who graduated from the same school as Pepper Potts. The most important thing was that she was hot and sexy. Although her ability was not as good as Pepper Potts, she knew how to behave and was sensible. Anyway, Stark Industries had been squeezed out of the leading position by Umbrella Corporation, and it didn't need someone as capable as Pepper Potts. I'm going to find Potts and Happy back. After listening to this, Tony was silent for a while, and then said. Wait, Tony, I want to return Stark Industries to you. Before Obadiah finished speaking and asked the secretary to take out the contract, Tony Stark opened the door and walked out. No need. He shook his head. Obadiah was left wondering whether Tony really didn't care or was just pretending to not care. The news of Tony Stark's return could not be concealed from the news media, and he had no intention of hiding it. Then at the press conference, he directly announced the closure of Stark Industries' weapons department, but because he is no longer the president of Stark Industries, this announcement is invalid. Chapter 62 New World. You are listening at NovelsMarvel. Why, Obadiah, why don't you support me in closing the weapons department? Although Tony knew that the second ensign who took care of him was actually sent by the terrorists to closely monitor him, the first ensign was not. The weapons of Stark Industries posed too great a threat to civilians, so Tony had to close the weapons department and find the guy who smuggled the weapons. Tony, you have to calm down. I am not the only one who has the final say in the company. If the weapons department is closed, the interests of many shareholders will be damaged, and the military will not agree to close the weapons department. Obadiah said helplessly, actually thinking that it was fortunate that Stark Industries was not returned to Tony. Who would have thought that Tony Stark would do such a trick as soon as he came back? You have to know that Stark Industries has military shares. Closing the weapons department? Don't even think about it. Not to mention that Tony can't do anything now. Tony Stark will probably be able to build the arc-cold nuclear fusion reactor in a few months, and then he will be able to meet Iron Man, but he probably can't be considered Iron Man now. Lucifer was very satisfied with this, but his current focus is no longer on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There is no need to go to the world of One Punch Man for the time being. The Monster Association has not yet come out. It would be a bit troublesome to pack up the Monster Association without alerting the Hero Association. It is better to wait until there are enough subordinates before going. Lucifer thought about it and then decided, after all, there is a suspected god behind the Monster Association, as well as the mysterious Blaster and his group of teammates. No matter which one, Lucifer is very afraid. Even if he has reached level 7, he still has no confidence in winning. It should be good to go at least when he reaches level 8, at that time, unless the god is really ridiculously strong, Lucifer will be sure to kill it. Are you going to the new world? Lucifer was thinking that he had to find a way to make his death immortal as soon as possible. Tyrant cells were not enough. Although this thing did not need to worry about combat effectiveness after injection, it obviously did not have the ability to maintain youth, but would evolve in the direction of adaptability. After all, it was a species of survival, so there was no need to consider attraction, so only by looking for as many worlds as possible could we find a way to make his death immortal. Then Lucifer suddenly appeared in a noisy tavern. Of course, with the appearance of Lucifer, the whole tavern suddenly became quiet. Everyone's eyes turned to Lucifer, who suddenly appeared. After all, this guy suddenly appeared, and anyone would be surprised, right? Lucifer was also stunned when he saw this situation. He did not expect that he would appear here. There were basically no people in the places where he appeared before, but he did not expect that he would be thrown into such a lively place this time. Isn't this embarrassing? So the people on both sides began to stare at each other. After a stalemate for a while, a drinker suddenly shifted his gaze and continued to drink with the person next to him. Perhaps taking him as an example, the people around him quickly recovered and continued to do what they were supposed to do. The whole tavern became lively again. Lucifer was also a little surprised. He was still wondering what to do now. As a result, these people quickly accepted his sudden appearance and continued to take care of him. This was a bit strange. After thinking about it, Lucifer realized one thing, that is, his sudden appearance was not very difficult for these people to understand. In other words, the existence of similar superpowers in this world is commonplace and not so rare. His sudden appearance did startle everyone, but it was just a surprise. After coming to their senses, everyone was too lazy to care about him. It looks like a backward Middle Ages. It won't be Pirates of the Caribbean, or Ragnarok. Lucifer walked out of the tavern. From what he saw so far, this place was a bit like the Middle Ages. Everyone's clothes revealed some ancient style, but there were also a few people who were dressed particularly strangely. Of course, because Lucifer had seen and played too many similar games, Lucifer was not very clear about where this place was. Lucifer flew into the sky, causing everyone to exclaim. Behind him and in the distance were dense forests. In the distance, you can see endless mountains, shrouded in mist, exuding a mysterious and dangerous atmosphere. Above his head was the incomparably blue sky, and the air was filled with coldness. The surrounding temperature was obviously not low. Boom! At this moment, a roar like thunder came from the distant mountain range covered by mist and covered with snow. Lucifer looked over there at the first moment, faster than thunder. Almost the next second after the lightning and thunder, he turned his head to look over there. In just a few seconds, that place was covered by a terrible blizzard. The original thunder-like sound continued to sound, and it sounded a bit like a huge human voice. Then Lucifer flew over. Even though that place seemed far away, for Lucifer, who could fly hundreds of times the speed of sound, this distance was reached in the blink of an eye, right? It really contains some special power. Lucifer said. He could feel that the blizzard around him had a little bit of damage to him, but it was very weak. It contained something special, a power that cannot be immune. After a long time, the blizzard in the sky dissipated, and a group of people who looked quite embarrassed walked down the mountain path. This is a rather strange combination. There are 9 people in total, all male, but there are big differences in their figures and appearances. 5 of them are very short, much shorter than the others, but they are not children. 4 of them are barefoot, and their feet are much bigger than those of ordinary people. They look like they are wearing a pair of shoes that look like feet. The other one has a long golden brown beard. Obviously, these shoes are not from humans, but from another race. The other few people, 2 humans, one looks like a knight, and the other is dressed as a ranger, a handsome elf with blonde hair and long ears. The last one is an extremely tall old man, wearing a gray robe, white beard and white hair, holding a wooden staff in his hand. Although the dress looks like a spellcaster, such as a wizard or a mage, but the first time Lucifer saw him, he felt that this old man was very good at fighting. He was not good at using magic or witchcraft, but he was very good at physical combat. Chapter 63 Dried Tofu. You are listening at NovelsMarvel. When Lucifer saw this group of people, these people naturally saw Lucifer. In their eyes, this person, with strange clothes, did not look like a person from Middle-earth. The people who had just been attacked were naturally extremely vigilant. Accompanied by a sound, various weapons were already in hand. The grey-robed wizard did not disappoint Lucifer's expectations and drew a sword without hesitation. The atmosphere on the field instantly became tense and solemn. Several barefoot dwarves stood at the back, looking very nervous and trembling. Suddenly I know what kind of world this is, Lucifer complained, the famous Magneto. No, it's Gandalf the dual-wielding berserker. Gandalf is the first berserker in Middle-earth, the spiritual mentor of melee mages, the first person to play the pig and eat the tiger, tearing the fire demon with his hands and punching the white robe, being both civil and martial, smoking, drinking, and perming his hair. Don't be nervous, I have no ill intentions. Lucifer thought about it and said to them. Who are you? That the old grey-robed wizard stepped forward and asked Lucifer, his voice full of energy. It can be imagined that there is an extremely strong body hidden under the grey robe. Me? Probably someone from another world. In your words, I am the Maya from another world. Lucifer thought for a while and said, Maya from another world? In the Middle-earth world, there is a creator God. Elves and humans are all children of God. Elves are the eldest sons of God, and humans are the second sons of God. In order to ensure the normal development of the world, God sent 5 wizards to Middle-earth. They will guide the creatures of Middle-earth, and Gandalf is one of them. Moreover, he is the kind that is favored by the big leaders, that is, he came down to guild. These wizards are not humans, nor elves, but Maya. They are subordinates of the Vala, just like angels serving God, but they are active in human skin. Therefore, even if this body dies, they may change skin and continue to move down in the future. However, after Lucifer saw Magneto Gandalf and the elf prince Legolas played by Liu Shiozai, he knew that this was probably the movie version of The Lord of the Rings, so it was fine. There was no need to worry about the boss behind Maya intervening. If it was the original version, Lucifer would run away without saying a word. In fact, the prequel to the world of The Lord of the Rings once had a very glorious mythological history. Starting from the Song of Creation, everything was fabricated by the supreme god and other high-ranking gods in that world. If there was a little change, they would not do it. It is not certain whether Lucifer's current strength can beat the highest demon Morgoth in the mythological era. His participation as a Kryptonian will definitely destroy the plot and the settings of the Vala, so he may be targeted. It is much better now, just the movie version. Even if Sauron gets the Supreme Ring and resurrects, Lucifer can kill it without a breath. Although Sauron only goes back even if he dies, he probably can't continue. This is a world with an overall level of productivity equivalent to that of medieval Europe. In addition to humans, there are all kinds of magical fantasy races, such as elves, dwarves, hobbits, orcs, and tree people. There are also magical animals such as dragons, giant wolves, giant spiders, giant eagles, etc., which feel perfunctory. After all, these monsters are just enlarged in proportion. Even if the giant eagle and the giant wolf have special abilities such as magic, Lucifer does not feel how strong they are, and this world is not an ordinary world. There used to be some extremely powerful extraordinary beings, which can be called gods. But as time goes by, the gods have withdrawn from the stage. At least on Middle-earth, the real ruler is no longer the gods. The active ones have been replaced by races such as humans, dwarves, and elves, and there is also a younger brother who is still working tirelessly after the big brother has withdrawn from the stage. The younger brother named Sauron is currently the big boss of Middle-earth, the biggest evil existence. The group of people in front of them is the Fellowship of the Ring. The team formed to destroy Sauron. Although this world has powerful extraordinary powers, this obviously cannot cover up that its overall productivity is only at the level of medieval Europe. There are indeed extraordinary powers in Middle-earth, but this extraordinary power is only in the hands of a few people, and it is very mysterious and quite stream of consciousness. So it is basically impossible to popularize it. People like Legolas and Aragorn in the Fellowship of the Ring can be regarded as super elites and top combat forces. They are powerful and can even fight 1 against 100, but they cannot master the extraordinary power like Gandalf and Saruman. The blizzard in the Misty Mountains was caused by Saruman taking advantage of the environment, a minority. Only a few people have such extraordinary power. The mission of the Fellowship of the Ring is to kill Sauron and his orc army and completely end his ambition in Middle-earth. Yes, it is just an ambition, which has never been realized. Sauron seems to always appear as a boss, and people in Middle-earth are terrified when talking about him, but this guy's experience is actually quite miserable. In 1200 of the 2nd century, Sauron appeared in a place called Eregion as the Gifted Master. Annatar, Celebrimbor, the Lord of Eregion, was deceived by Sauron and forged 19 ruling rings. 3 rings for the elves, 7 rings for the dwarves and 9 rings for men. In 1600, Sauron secretly forged the supreme ring to control the other ruling rings. In the end, Sauron used the 9 rings of men to control 9 of the most powerful people among humans, and made them degenerate into a kind of creature similar to the undead, the Ringwraiths. In the year 3429 of the Second Age, it was probably Sauron's most glorious moment. He called the wind and rain in Middle-earth, and humans and elves formed an alliance because of Sauron's pressure, then Sauron's finger. With the ring was cut off, the ring was taken away, and his body disappeared. Then, most importantly, the ring that almost represented Sauron's existence disappeared without a trace. Later, Sauron came out again as a necromancer and established Dol Guldur, wanting to make trouble. At the beginning, it did cause some people to panic, however, in the end, he didn't even have time to pretend. He was pinned to the ground and beaten by Saruman the White, one of the 5 wizards specially sent to Middle-earth by the Mayor, a special race with no fixed form. Some appear in human form. Poor Sauron could only flee back to his lair, Mordor. He shouted every day, "I don't accept it, I want to conquer Middle-earth. If you have the ability, give me the ring back, and I will kill you after I get the equipment." Chapter 64, Saruman. You are listening at NovelsMarvel. However, due to the loss of the One Ring, Sauron's power was severely weakened. He could only transform into an eye and spy on Middle-earth every day. So far, Sauron was forced to become a dead house. Conquests and such can only be thought of for the time being. Although Sauron is a poor guy, he is at least a poor guy who was once awesome. People in Middle-earth all think that it is not a big deal for the eye of Sauron to look around everywhere. The privacy rights of people in Middle-earth have been destroyed, okay? And what if one day it comes back? So, when the missing One Ring was obtained by the hobbit Frodo, the grey-robed wizard Gandalf, who was originally responsible for fighting Sauron and was also one of the Mayor, appeared in front of him. He asked Frodo to take the ring to the territory of the elves, Rivendell. There, a group of people, elves, humans, and dwarves, held a meeting. Finally, it was decided that Frodo and his team would take the ring to Mount Doom, the place where the ring was made, and the only place in the legend that could destroy the ring and completely kill Sauron. Destroy the ring and completely eliminate Sauron, the hidden danger. They took on the task of entering Mordor and destroying the Supreme Ring. Because the Supreme Ring contains the power of Sauron, it will corrupt the soul and make the holder fall. Therefore, the innocent hobbit Frodo also became the only holder of the ring. Others are very likely to be affected by the ring and fall. In history, the only person who could truly resist the power of the ring and voluntarily give it up was Bilbo Baggins, who inherited the ring to his cousin Frodo. Now the ring is kept by Frodo. These people originally planned to cross the Misty Mountains, but because the original White Wizard Saruman fell, he joined Sauron and cooperated with him. In order to stop the ring team, he used his power to cause a blizzard in the Misty Mountains and collapse the road. The Fellowship of the Ring can only return and find a way to Mordor again. Lucifer is very interested in the Supreme Ring, especially the special existence of the Ringwraiths. The 3 rings of the elves have the ability to control the elements, and the 9 rings of humans are immortal. Even if it is only the immortality of the movie version, not the original version, it is still very powerful. Maya from other worlds, what are you doing in this world? Gandalf asked Lucifer. Oh, nothing, I just came to travel. Lucifer was not interested in Gandalf and his group, but wanted to catch dragons, giant spiders, giant eagles and giant wolves to study them, and by the way, kidnap Saruman, the technology expert. What a good Maya, studying technology, developing biotechnology, and improving the species of orcs. He and Kino should have a lot in common, one mysterious side, and the other I think. Maybe he can help Lucifer mass-produce dragon-level monsters faster. So Lucifer left directly. The Fellowship of the Ring looked at each other, and then said nothing. They were going to change their route next. Lucifer flew towards a place called Isengard. It was a place abandoned by Gondor, and was turned into an important defense of the free lands in the west by the former white-robed wizard Saruman. Now Saruman has fallen, and he calls himself Saruman of the Colored Robe. Isengard is now naturally occupied by the new race created by Saruman, the orcs who are not afraid of the sun. Isengard is Saruman's lair, which is easy to defend and difficult to attack, and is occupied by a large number of orcs. It has become another evil place in Middle-earth after Mordor. it is naturally not a simple thing to enter such a place, and you need to pass many levels. The difficulty is not much lower than entering Mordor, however, the so-called difficulty is naturally only for the locals in Middle-earth. For Lucifer, this place is undefended. He cut through the sky and appeared near the Tower of Isengard. This is Saruman's residence and his laboratory. Before Saruman could react and fight back, Lucifer landed on the Tower of Isengard. All this happened so fast that Saruman's magical voice didn't even have time to sound. The surrounding anti-aircraft defenses, which were really not very good, didn't have time to be used. The last time the power of the Wind King, the leader of the giant eagle Gandalf, escaped from Isengard, Saruman strengthened Isengard's defense against airstrikes. He was very confident that the next time a giant eagle flew over, it would definitely not leave as easily as last time. Unexpectedly, it was not a giant eagle that came this time, but a Kryptonian. Lucifer was able to find this place thanks to his super vision and super hearing. Now he can observe a large range, and the speed at which the super brain processes information is much faster than before, so he can fly straight here. The sound of the horn sounded from the Tower of Isengard. The intruder landed on the tower in a swagger, and the whole of Isengard was shaken. If this gets out, where will Saruman's face be? Is Saruman here? Lucifer asked. Behind him, a huge feather arrow or crossbow arrow as thick as an adult's arm shot straight at him. Lucifer turned around and grabbed the arrow, then he threw it back. As soon as the arrow left his hand, there was a loud bang, and the mock ring whizzed out, instantly separating hundreds of orcs and drawing a bloody line between them. Countless pieces of debris fell, and blood flowed like a river. A simple and powerful voice suddenly came from the tower, a simple syllable, not a special word. The sound of the horn stopped after the syllable, and the orcs who had started howling and preparing for battle gradually quieted down. About half a minute later, a gray, black-skinned orc came to Lucifer. "The master invites you to come over." The orc growled and made an unclear sound, looking at Lucifer cruelly. He didn't know how Lucifer did it just now, but he was very strong. "Lead the way." After Lucifer showed his strength a little, he knew that Saruman would definitely not sit still. Soon, the orcs took Lucifer to the room where Saruman was in the tower. Saruman was an old man with white hair and beard, holding a black wand with a round gem on the top. Compared with Gandalf, this man was tall, but he looked thin and his cheeks were a little sunken. His overall image is obviously more in line with the feeling of a normal wizard. "Who are you?" Saruman looked at Lucifer and asked his own question. Saruman is a very scientifically literate person. His technological level is also top-notch in Middle-earth. He not only created the orcs, he is also proficient in machinery and chemistry, and invented explosives using fire and gravel. Chapter 65, The One Ring. You are listening at NovelsMarvel.audio. He can be regarded as a scientific pioneer in Middle-earth. If Saruman succeeds and eventually rules Middle-earth, he may be called Saruman the Great in the future. "It doesn't matter who I am, Saruman. Are you willing to continue like this?" Lucifer looked at Saruman and said. "What's the meaning?" Saruman had no idea what Lucifer was talking about. "Middle-earth is not for you, come with me," Lucifer said. After abducting Saruman, he still had to go see the Balrog. He didn't know how much experience he would get if he killed the Balrog. After all, it was also a type of Maya. Of course, it is also possible that after killing him, the big boss would personally kick him out as a walk-on. "You're just a sidekick, trying to steal Tofu's role, so get out of here." "Follow you?" Saruman asked if he could speak clearly, so Lucifer confessed at this time that he came from a world outside Middle-earth and did not belong to the Vala. He could also be considered to be the Vala and Maya of other worlds. Only then did Saruman realize why Lucifer looked so unique. Vala and Maya from other worlds. Saruman could feel Lucifer's power, as powerful as a dragon's vitality and aura, especially the hand he just showed, catching the arrows coming from behind, and then counterattacking, killing hundreds of strong orcs. Compared with Sauron is much weaker than this kind of power. "What can you give me?" Saruman asked meaningfully. "I can give you whatever you want, your favorite research, even the Supreme Lord of the Rings," Lucifer said to Saruman. "The One Ring?" Saruman was a little surprised. Although he also liked the study, he liked the Supreme Lord of the Rings more. "Then what do you need from me?" asked Saruman. "Everything from you, I need your magic and your knowledge, and I need you to forge the One Ring for me. Lucifer found a way to make his death immortal, which was to forge a new Supreme Lord of the Rings, a new Supreme Lord of the Rings with the 3 elven rings, the 7 dwarf rings and the 9 human rings, as well as the capabilities of the Supreme Lord of the Rings, the 3 rings of elves, the 7 rings of dwarves, and the 9 rings of men, together with the Supreme Lord of the Rings made by Sauron. They are all the Lord of the Rings in Middle-earth, forming a complete Lord of the Rings system. The 7 rings of the dwarves had basically been taken back and destroyed by Sauron, while the 9 rings of humans were in the hands of the 9 ring spirits and became Sauron's tool to enslave them. The 3 elven rings are the Water Ring, Nanya, the Air Ring, Vilya, and the Fire Ring, Naya, in the hands of 2 elves and Gandalf respectively. No matter which magic ring, it is difficult to obtain. As for their abilities and effects, the elves are immortal, flexible, not proud of their bodies, and dominate with magic. So there are 3 rings, which give the power to manipulate the elements more easily. A dwarf who likes blacksmithing, has a long lifespan and does not care about appearance. He has no magical talent. What he is given is strength, extremely powerful physical strength. Human beings pursue immortality, so the increase in strength is minimal. Human rings are also the easiest to wear. The most powerful thing about the ring is that it can lead a group of people. Wearing this ring means you are invincible within your tribe. Basically, for foreign enemies, you still have to look at the rings of elves and dwarves. The human ones are more like those used to show off their cuteness, so the human race has the most rings, but it doesn't have the most increase in strength. The dwarves have 7, but the strength of a single one has increased to a terrifying degree. Although there are only 3 elves, however, the most powerful thing about elven magic is not its power, but its knowledge and skills, and these 3 rings can make up for their shortcomings. Therefore, humans and elves satisfy their desires and shortcomings respectively. Dwarves enhance their strongest point. The Nazgul are almost all humans. Dwarves and elves, although tempting, are not that tragic. The human race's ring provides immortality, but the increase is not large. In order to stabilize the entire situation, that's impossible. After hearing Lucifer's words, Saruman said immediately. Saruman imitated the manufacturing process of the Lord of the Rings and made a ring for himself, which enhanced his power, but what Lucifer said was to forge a new Lord of the Rings. This is not something that can be done casually. The Lord of the Rings was made by Celebrimbor, a famous craftsman among the elves, but he was from the 2nd century and died in the hands of Sauron long ago. Now in the entire Middle-earth, there is only one person who knows the forging process of the Lord of the Rings, that is Sauron the Great Eye in the Tower of Barad-dûr in Mordor. I cannot forge the Lord of the Rings. I can only forge a ring that is close to the Lord of the Rings. Saruman said truthfully. His ring is comparable to the power of the 3 elven rings, close, but only close and comparable, not to mention forging the one ring that can rule all the rings. Talion, a human ranger. Lucifer said a name that was unfamiliar to Saruman. If he is still in Middle-earth, find his whereabouts. Don't you need the ring? Saruman asked. It's been made so clear, you still don't understand. Lucifer glanced at Saruman and said. Saruman's breathing became slightly faster. You mean, he can forge the ring? Celebrimbor. Lucifer said. The forger of the ring, after being killed by Sauron, his soul did not die, and possessed a dead ranger. The 2 had revenged Sauron. If you find them, it is equivalent to getting the forging method of the ring. Saruman's expression was a little frozen. He didn't expect Lucifer to throw out such important news lightly. How about it? I am very sincere. As long as you agree, then I will take you away from this world. Lucifer said with a smile. It was difficult for Saruman to refuse his bargaining chip, because he was ambitious, unlike Gandalf. I know, I will find the ranger as soon as possible. Saruman's eyes flickered. That was the Supreme Ring, but he didn't know that Lucifer planned to wholesale the Supreme Ring. At that time, by imitating Sauron's operation, he would inject his own consciousness and power into it to control those who wore the Supreme Ring. What is the Supreme Ring? What he has above is the Emperor Ring. Lucifer left without wasting time, and brought back a few orcs for Kinos to study. Kinos was full of expectations for this creature that was said to come from the magical world, and couldn't wait to study it after getting it. it might become very miserable. When Lucifer returned to the world of the Lord of the Rings, the orcs that Saruman sent out to find Talion had brought him back. Chapter 66, The New One Ring. You are listening at NovelsMarvel. I have found Talion and brought him back, but I can't make him speak. Saruman said when he saw Lucifer. Saruman himself is actually an expert inquirer. In addition to occupying Isengard, he even bewitched the ruler of another human kingdom, Rohan, Theoden. He originally thought that as long as he found the ranger, it would be very easy to ask him about the method of making the ring, but Saruman forgot that Talion was already dead. The reason he survived is that he shared a body with another soul, the other soul, the original creator of the ring. The elf Celebrimbor was an old immortal who existed in the Second Age. He possessed Talion in the form of a soul and fought against Sauron with him. I don't know how many years have passed so far. It is too difficult for Saruman to pry open the mouth of such an old monster. The other party even had means of self-destruction, which made Saruman afraid to take extreme measures, so he could only imprison him and Talion temporarily. Lead the way, Lucifer said to Saruman. Saruman had no way, but that didn't mean he had no way. Saruman looked at Lucifer deeply and took him down the tower. The two walked down the stairs to the basement cell under the tower. Saruman once imprisoned Gandalf on the tower, just a small platform, with a biting cold wind, high altitude on all sides, and no way to go down. As a result, the Wind King took advantage of the opportunity and rescued Gandalf very easily. Now Saruman has learned his lesson and started to imprison people in underground cells to prevent them from escaping. Talion's hands and feet were tied with heavy chains, half kneeling on the ground, hands raised high, showing a posture that was almost hanging. There were some wounds on his body, and some blood on the ground. His head was lowered, and his hair covered his face. It was hard to tell what he was like at the moment, but he had obviously been called by Saruman. Do you want revenge? Lucifer said to Talion, or rather, to the soul in his body. What? Talion immediately raised his head. I said, I will help you get revenge. As long as you help me forge the One Ring, I will help you get revenge and kill Sauron. Lucifer said righteously. How can we believe you? The soul elf Celebrimbor asked calmly. Sauron has lost the One Ring, and the Fellowship of the Ring is taking the One Ring to the volcano to completely destroy it. It will be very easy to kill Sauron at that time. Moreover, I am the Vala and Maya of other worlds, so there is no need to worry that I can't kill Sauron. Lucifer gave a convincing statement. What about Saruman? The elf Celebrimbor was shaken, but still asked. He has become my subordinate. He will follow me to leave Middle-earth and go to other worlds. He is no longer a minion of Sauron. Lucifer said. I was never a minion of Sauron, Saruman said immediately. The elf Celebrimbor ignored him. Then after you kill Sauron, I will help you forge the One Ring. No, I need you to forge the One Ring before I can kill Sauron. Do you understand? Lucifer shook his head and said. The elf Celebrimbor and Talion were silent. I don't know if they were secretly discussing something. In the end, they agreed. The One Ring I want needs to have the effects of the 9 rings of humans, the 3 rings of elves, the 7 rings of dwarves, and the One Ring. Can you do it? Lucifer asked. Yes, but in this way, a lot of gold will be consumed, and the power of Sauron is needed to forge the One Ring. In addition to Sauron's power, can you find a power as powerful as Sauron to forge it? The elf Celebrimbor has actually mastered Sauron's method of making the ring and the One Ring through exploration over the years. Lucifer's request is just to improve the technical level. No problem, just use my power. My power should be stronger than Sauron. Lucifer said seriously. The elf Celebrimbor nodded. Since Lucifer said that he was the Vala and Maya from other worlds, he was probably stronger than Sauron. I just don't know if it's appropriate, and gold is even less of a problem for Lucifer. He will go back to the Marvel world and bring a lot of gold. These are all the gold from the shipwreck, and the amount is huge. The elf Celebrimbor was also stunned. He didn't expect to see so much gold. The project of forging the Supreme Ring began soon. Saruman asked the strong orcs to assist. The elf Celebrimbor gave instructions, and Lucifer was responsible for the transmission of power. In fact, Lucifer didn't know whether his pure physical strength could be considered as power, but it seemed that the elf Celebrimbor said it could be used, so there was no problem. Consciousness, mind, spirit, soul, will, these things flowed into the ring along with the forging. In the end, a large amount of gold disappeared, and a shining, golden ring appeared. This is the Supreme Ring, the new Supreme Ring. The elves Celebrimbor and Talion said breathlessly that although they didn't need to do the physical work, guiding Lucifer's overpowering power was more troublesome and difficult than they had imagined. This was still the case with Lucifer's cooperation. It can make people immortal, invisible, or ethereal. Part of the body can enter the underworld to avoid attacks and will not be affected by the underworld. It also has the ability to strengthen the wearer's power. The elf Celebrimbor continued. Lucifer put on the Supreme Ring, which made Saruman look forward to it. He really wanted a Supreme Ring. Lucifer could feel the Supreme Ring strengthening on him, but it was just average. Of course, it would be good to give Lucifer the ability to control elements. Who hasn't dreamed of having magic? I have memorized the specific process, Lucifer said to the elf Celebrimbor. As for killing Sauron, that's no problem. I'll bring the army to deal with Sauron's orc army, and then let Gandalf and his men march straight in. For Lucifer, the army naturally couldn't follow his orders, so he could only hand it over to the human Emperor Strider to command. Anyway, he already had an invincible ghost army, not to mention an alien army, right? Afterwards, Lucifer took Saruman away from the world of the Lord of the Rings, leaving him to Kynos, who had a common language with him, and took the Supreme Ring to the world of Slashing Scarlet Eyes. Chapter 67, Rampage. You are listening at NovelsMarvel.audio. Cut off the red eyes. The Empire now controls a territory far beyond the original plot, has come into contact with island countries, and fights with the Western kingdoms every day. Isdeth sat and fiddled with a pen in boredom. Because of her excessive desire to reproduce, Isdeth had a 5 million word life-and-death duel with Lucifer, a Kryptonian, and now she has entered a rational state. However, because these 5 million words are full of shocks and unforgettable life-and-death battles, Isdeth now has no interest in torture. She has become very Buddhist. Maybe only Lucifer's return can make her happy. Feel surprised and excited. It was the kind of excitement that only Lucifer could give her. Isdeth. Lucifer appeared outside, and Esther's eyes suddenly lit up. Elbow, come into the house with me. Isdeth grabbed Lucifer's hand and pulled him into the house. Wait, Isdeth, I have something serious to ask you. Lucifer was stunned for a moment, then reacted and spoke hurriedly, probably because he was afraid of hurting Isdeth's fragile body and bones, so he didn't dare to take action. Business, who is the business? In just 2 sentences, Lucifer was confused. When he came to his senses, 30,000 words had passed. Of course, this is 30,000 words led by Isdeth, and the 3 million words led by Lucifer have just begun. 310,000 word. Isdeth, this is a belated ring that symbolizes our love. Wear it and you will be immortal. Lucifer sat on the edge of the bed and said gently to Isdeth, who was already a puddle of mud. Facts have proved that even though Isdeth has been very strong, she is still not good enough in front of Lucifer. Not only will the biological force field make Isdeth more and more sensitive, but it will also not make her dehydrated too seriously. After all, she is sensitive. If the temperature increases, it is easy to become dehydrated. Isdeth raised his head with difficulty and saw the appearance of the Supreme Lord of the Rings. What does the ring represent? That she didn't quite understand, so she rested her head on Lucifer's lap, forming a knee pillow. It represents the meaning of marriage. Lucifer thought for a while. In fact, he seemed to really not know the meaning of the ring. There seemed to be no tradition of rings in China. In the past, they were at most a pair of dragon and phoenix bracelets made of gold. By the way, should I use dragon and phoenix bracelets instead? Maybe the effect will be better than that of the Supreme Lord of the Rings. The Supreme Lord of the Rings is too small and certainly not as big as the dragon and phoenix bracelet. Marry, Isdeth thought thoughtfully. She naturally understood this, but she didn't expect that she would marry Lucifer. Mainly because she didn't feel this way. For his death, the law of the jungle was conquered by Lucifer. It's a normal thing, love, she hasn't reached the stage of wanting love yet, but now, it is impossible for his death to leave Lucifer, she feels that she has been conquered by Lucifer. Lucifer then took his death to the Marvel world. There was no reason why he placed his death in the world of red eyes. It was just that Lucifer wanted to preserve his death as youth. It just went by so fast. This is your world, Master, His death asked Lucifer thoughtfully after seeing the high-rise buildings and the endless desert outside. It is, but it is not my world. My world is still far away, but I will go back one day. Lucifer said calmly, and then he heard a huge movement below. What's going on? Lucifer asked. Death was startled, and then he saw a flash of light around him, and a 3D projection appeared in front of him and Death. 10 minutes ago, Dr. Genos and Dr. Saruman conducted research and successfully created a monster larger than a dragon, but the target cannot be contained. The Black Emperor replied calmly. Above dragon, Lucifer suddenly realized something, so he quickly headed to the laboratory, and Death naturally followed. Impossible, how could magic fail? Saruman thought hard, even if the monster in front of him was about to be killed, all the beast soldiers who went to stop it were killed by it. Genos ran away and let the Black Emperor deal with it. Roar, the monster was like one-eyed Piccolo, and when he raised his hand, he released an energy wave, and the vibranium wall responsible for resisting it quickly disintegrated. Even Captain America's shield has an upper limit and can be chopped down by Thanos, let alone these walls that are just vibranium. Seeing that Saruman was about to be killed by the monster before he could escape, a figure blocked the monster. Vaccine human cells. Lucifer looked with interest at the weirdo who was knocked out by him but was still intact. The research conducted by Genos and Saruman was very simple. They originally just wanted to restore Boros, but unexpectedly, after adding the cells of the vaccine man, they instantly created this monster as if they were out of control. What's more, the reason why Kinos used Super Biceps King is because Kinos discovered that Super Biceps King is a very good nutrient solution. Ordinary clones naturally don't need super biceps. The king of head muscles, but it is needed to transform the living body, and it will accelerate maturity. The huge energy was completely absorbed, and the energy index instantly soared above the dragon level, which means it exceeded the dragon level standard. However, because there has never been a god-level weirdo, the god-level standard cannot be found. Otherwise, they can all be called god-level weirdos. Mr. Lucifer, this weirdo's data is 19.9% higher than Boros. Genos also rushed over at this time, and then said to Lucifer. Well, I feel it. After all, Lucifer had a head-on confrontation with it, using the power to kill Boros, but the opponent remained intact. The cells of the vaccine man are still very good, but it's a pity that this is not the world of One Punch Man, and you will not be recognized by the will of the earth. Lucifer looked at the weirdo opposite and said, it looks like a combination of Vaccine Man and Boros, except that Boros's hair is gone and replaced by Vaccine Man's head, and then Vaccine Man's face is gone and replaced by Boros's one eye and face. The ultimate suture is weird. Then Lucifer disappeared instantly, and when he reappeared, he caught the weirdo and teleported with him to the world of One Punch Man. Boom! The weirdo roared and punched Lucifer on the arm. The shock wave destroyed the valley behind Lucifer, and a huge crack opened on the ground, like the Great Rift Valley in East Africa. You've become stronger. Are you connected to the will of the earth so quickly? Lucifer joked that the gap between a 7th-level Kryptonian and a 6th-level Kryptonian is too big. They can be killed with one punch, and the 6th-level Kryptonian is stronger than Boros, so the difference between Lucifer and this weirdo is the gap between them is still huge. Chapter 68, Continuing the New World. You are listening at NovelsMarvel. Therefore, scientists are very powerful. They can create such powerful monsters in one go, and they can easily destroy the world. Lucifer was very happy at this time, because he could just use this one-eyed vaccine man to test his upgraded power. The one-eyed vaccine man himself is a representative of the planet created according to the will of the earth. After getting the theme material of Boros at this time, he quickly transformed into an evolution based on Boros, making Lucifer feel the speed at which the opponent is getting stronger the more he fights. Too fast. Although the vaccine man was constantly getting stronger and evolving, the speed was not so fast. The will of the earth, this kind of thing is really interesting. Lucifer was thinking about this issue while fighting. Unfortunately, it seems that only the world of One Punch Man has the concept of planet representatives, and it is impossible for Lucifer to go to the living planets in the universe to find those planet representatives for hunting. Not to mention that Boros may have already swept them away, and Lucifer has also I don't have the ability to span this vast universe. Although his current flying speed is unimaginably fast, even the speed of light is too slow in this universe. It seems that you can use the will of the earth for nothing. Every time you bring back a weirdo with vaccine human cells, let the will of the earth strengthen it, and then kill it yourself and recycle it. The one-eyed vaccine man attacks crazily, and Lucifer is always on the defensive, waiting for the one-eyed vaccine man to cross that threshold. When the time comes, he will directly kill the one-eyed vaccine man. However, just when Lucifer was concentrating on fighting the enemy, he suddenly felt something. He turned around and saw that a head had popped out from nowhere on the other side of the moon. God! No eyes or other organs could be seen in that head, but Lucifer could feel a great chill. A 7th-level Kryptonian still fears gods. Lucifer frowned. Gods can give power to others to become dragon-level monsters at will. No one knows how strong the gods are, but since the sacrifice has not been completed yet, then it shouldn't be that strong. Then Lucifer was distracted by a punch in the face by the one-eyed vaccine man. When he knocked the one-eyed vaccine man away, he looked back and saw that the god was gone. It seemed that the gods were just alarmed and had no idea about him. Or maybe it was because he was so strong that the gods were not sure of taking him down. After the one-eyed vaccine man crossed the threshold, Lucifer took him back to the Marvel world. Otherwise, in the One Punch Man world, it would be difficult to kill the one-eyed vaccine man unless Saitama took action. The vaccine man was immortal in the first place. Immortal, endless energy. After killing the one-eyed vaccine man who was close to him, Lucifer saw that his experience points had increased a lot. "You're back." His Death still didn't know what Lucifer was doing, so he asked other people, and only the mechanical voice said that Lucifer went to other worlds to fight. His Death was bored and wanted to follow him, but it turned out that only Lucifer himself had traveled through time. World capabilities. "Well, how's it going?" Lucifer asked with concern. He abandoned his Death all at once because this level of battle was still too strong for her, so he didn't intend to let her participate. But about his Death become stronger, Lucifer is already studying it. "This place feels no different from my original world. I just want to be with you now." His Death said immediately. Lucifer thought for a moment. He was not used to his Death's clinginess. After all, he was single before and had no girlfriend or wife, so he naturally couldn't experience this feeling. "Well, I'm just about to go and see the new world. If you're bored, just come with me." Lucifer then said, "The world of Lord of the Rings has not continued. Lucifer has mastered the technology of the Supreme Lord of the Rings and can create the Supreme Lord of the Rings at any time. Saruman no longer needs Lucifer to give him the Supreme Lord of the Rings. He can create the Supreme Lord of the Rings himself." Of course, Saruman was not as powerful as Lucifer and Sauron, and the Supreme Lord of the Rings he finally built was still a half-finished product, and Lucifer thought about it and felt that the setting of the 9 rings of humanity was very good. In the future, the senior executives of the Umbrella Company would use the Lord of the Rings to strengthen it. The effect of the 9 human ring is enough for them to pay everything for it. As for the 7 dwarf ring, the pure physical strength bonus and immortality are due to the use of Lucifer's power. If it is forged, then the 7 dwarf ring will the holder can even fight the Hulk in hand-to-hand combat. As for the 3 elven rings, Lucifer has no interest in forging them. Set off. Lucifer hugged his Death, and then the 2 of them disappeared. Endless desert. Where? Lucifer looked at the pale sky and earth in front of him, as if only monotonous white remained. Is this another world? His Death looked at it curiously. If the Marvel Universe gave her little sense of reality, then this world now gave his Death a clear sense of fragmentation. "Come on, I heard some noise." Lucifer said to his death, then he flew over with his death, and then saw a group of creatures. This group of creatures looks strange, like animals, but has a black body, exposed bones, and wears a bone-like mask. It turns out it's Su. Lucifer was a little surprised. He came to the world of the god of death, and he was in the Hueco Mundo at the beginning. No wonder it seemed that there was only the color of pale. The pale world gave Lucifer the feeling that it was full of dust, and the wind blew and his whole body was covered with lime. His death saw Lucifer's eyes turn red, and the familiar hot sight killed the group of hollows fighting each other below. Lucifer didn't need to worry that he couldn't see the hollows and the god of death because he didn't conform to the setting of the world of the god of death, nor did he need his soul to leave his body. The default was the universal rule, otherwise Tyron cells would be useless in the world of Akame no Mizuki. His death also saw these hollows. It seems that you have a way to become stronger. Lucifer said to his death, got a Zanpakutō, and then arranged for his death to become a hollow, but I don't know if his death can get higher Inmaru, the strongest Zanpakutō of the ice and snow system, but it is also possible that his death got other Zanpakutōs because she was an outsider. Although the Bleach does not have the ability to explode a star, even Sosuke Aizen, who is said to be able to evolve infinitely, the omniscient and omnipotent Yawatch, and even the Soul King do not have it, but it is still much more powerful than the world of Akame no Kill. At least it should be able to explode a country or even a continent, right? Chapter 69, Heading to Soul Society. You are listening at NovelsMarvel.audio. Lucifer was very happy to slaughter those hollows in Hueco Mundo, and his death also experienced the interest of killing for the first time in a long time. Although her strength in Hueco Mundo was not that strong, maybe Achukas could compete with his death, or even defeat his death, but she couldn't stand Lucifer next to his death, that was completely feared by gods and ghosts. However, because the two of them are now quasi-high-intensity spirit particle aggregates, they are actually very attractive to these hollows. Lucifer, who didn't know how to go to Soul Society for the time being, could only kill these experience points that came to his door while looking for the Palace of the Night. Finding the Palace of the Night will know the timeline, but I don't know if Bailargan is the king of Hueco Mundo now. If not, it should be the time when Aizen Sosuke started the Arankar experiment. As for Bailargan before he became the king of Hueco Mundo. Are you kidding? How long ago was that? Because Hueco Mundo is very large, it is also difficult to find the Palace of the Night. Lucifer didn't know how many miscellaneous hollows, low-level hollows, or even big hollows he had killed. I have never seen an Achukas, let alone Vastod. There are only a few Vastods in the original plot. If we can't find that palace, can we not go to the Soul Society? That day, Lucifer and his death lit a bonfire, and his death asked while lying in Lucifer's arms. There is no way. I can't go there until my power is strong enough to break the space. The captured hollow can't speak, so I need at least the level of Achukas. Lucifer said helplessly. When watching the anime, there were so many Achukas fighting each other to become Vastods. Why can't I see an Achukas now? Otherwise, I can threaten it to open the black cavity to the Soul Society by beating it, but at this time, Lucifer heard some noises. He looked back and found that several kilometers away, a shark-like hollow was fighting with a blonde woman, but the blonde woman was obviously defeated. Vastold, Lucifer stood up. It was not only Vastold, but also one of the future 10 Blades, Tia Haribel. And this scene looked familiar. Wasn't this the scene where Aizen Sosuke rescued the beauty and subdued Tia Haribel and her 3 subordinates? So it's at this time. Lucifer saw this scene and naturally couldn't ignore it. He came to fight monsters, and Aizen Sosuke was naturally a good monster. Seeing that Tia Haribel was about to be killed by the former Yachukas, she was a little unbelievable. Bang! Suddenly, with a loud noise, Lucifer appeared in front of Tia Haribel, blocking the shark Yachukas, and by the way repelled Aizen Sosuke who wanted to rescue the beauty. The opponent was punched by Lucifer and flew away to an unknown place. Ikimara Jin's pupils shrank in the distance. Are you okay? Lucifer crushed the head of the shark Achuka's Arankar casually, then turned around and said to Tia Haribel. Are you the god of death? Tia Haribel looked at Lucifer in front of her and asked with mixed feelings. How could I be the god of death? I'm not wearing that kind of clothes. I don't have a Death Hater or a Zanpakutō. Lucifer would not accept wearing a Death Hater. Anyway, he would not become a god of death. Wearing socks and clogs would be too stupid. He couldn't do it. Who are you? Tia Hribble asked. I'm here to travel in Hueco Mundo. Lucifer thought for a while and said. Hribble. At this time, Apache, Sun, and Mira Ross, the three Achukas, protected Tia Hribble. This guy who looked like a god of death was very suspicious. However, after all, in the original plot, Aizen Sosuke, as a god of death, could subdue Tia Hribble, not to mention Lucifer. Lucifer, who intercepted Aizen Sosuke's careful plan, took Tia Hribble and others away to prevent Aizen Sosuke from coming back. Is this Achuka's? His death did not move from where she was. When she saw Lucifer coming back with a woman and 3 animals, her eyes turned to Tia Hribble. No, she is Vastad. Lucifer explained that there is a big difference between Vastad and Achukas. Tia Hribble saw his death and felt hostile for some reason. She is his death, my woman. She is a Vastad level hollow. The other 3 are Achukas, but I don't know their names yet. Lucifer introduced each other, and then Tia Hribble and Apache said their names. So, are we going to open the Black Chamber and go to Soul Society next? His death nodded, ignoring these things, and said to Lucifer. Go to Soul Society? Tia Hribble asked puzzledly. Yes, Hribble, next, please help them open the Black Chamber to Soul Society. Is Death and I want to travel to Soul Society. Lucifer said to them. Soul Society is very dangerous. Tia Hribble said hesitantly. It doesn't matter. Lucifer shook his head. He just went there to get 2 Zanpakutō. What's the danger? Of course, 2 is just a quantifier. If it works well, Lucifer might join the Zero Division and interrogate the bald man about how to forge Zanpakutō and mass produce it. Tia Hribble had no choice but to agree to open the Black Chamber. If a Vastad of her level went there, Soul Society would find out instantly. After all, Mayuri Kuratsuchi's Technology Development Bureau is not an easy task. By the way, is Mayuri Kuratsuchi now, or is Kasuke Urahara still the director? Tia Hribble opened the Black Chamber, and after Lucifer observed carefully, he understood what to do. It was not that they were stronger than Lucifer, but that spiritual pressure was really something that could be manipulated, and Lucifer had no spiritual pressure. Perhaps he would have spiritual pressure after releasing his Zanpakutō. I'm leaving. See you next time. Lucifer waved his hand, and then his death followed him into the Black Chamber. Next time. Tia Hribble wanted to go in with him, but finally gave up. She didn't want to cause trouble for Lucifer. Hei Kong had to pass through the Dankai to go to Soul Society. A golden light suddenly appeared behind Lucifer and his death, and then a huge black monster rushed over. It's a Jutsu. Lucifer thought about it, but still didn't kill the Jutsu in seconds. His death didn't know what it was, so she was eager to try. Chapter 70 Zanpakutō. You are listening at NovelsMarvel. Let's go, that's something you can't deal with. Lucifer took his death away. Jutsu couldn't get close to Lucifer no matter how hard he tried. Although he was walking leisurely, his speed was not slow at all. In this way, they passed the Dankai and reached the Soul Society. Is this the Soul Society? It does look very different from Hueco Mundo. Is Death looked around? Yes, there are big differences. Lucifer said calmly, then he entered Rukongai. The core of the Soul Society in Bleach is the Soul Society, and outside the Soul Society is the Rukongai. There are peaceful Rukongai, and there are also chaotic Rukongai like the Zaraki district where Kenpachi Zaraki is located. It is so chaotic that even the Zanpakutō of the Bleach god can be robbed. Lucifer's purpose is just to get a Zanpakutō for his death, so naturally he will not join the Soul Society or the Soul Society. Just rob one at random. The patrolling one seemed to be the Shinigami of the 10th Division. Lucifer saw Shinigami patrolling on Rukongai. This was only seen in the peaceful Rukongai area. It was mainly for the safety of the Shinigami's family members and to protect these ryukan from being attacked by hollows. Unless the Shinigami's family members were also Shinigami, they could not enter the Soul Society, except for the nobles. The so-called nobles were just kings, princes, generals and ministers, all have their own kind, because in the world of Shinigami, bloodline was really valued, and bloodline really had natural power. For example, the four nobles were like this, with a higher spiritual pressure than others, and ordinary ryukan and Shinigami. Occasionally there were a few extraordinary geniuses, but it was difficult to shake the rule of the aristocracy. Lucifer went up and knocked out several Shinigami, took away their Zanpakutō, and then left openly. Not long after, these unlucky guys were discovered, but the loss of their Zanpakutō did not attract much attention. At most, they might take longer than others to get their Zanpakutō. Is this a Zanpakutō? Goddess Death picked up one of the Zanpakutō and swung it a few times. She couldn't feel any power at all. It was far worse than what she used before. This is just the initial shallow strike. It can't be called a Zanpakutō. The shape and power of a real Zanpakutō are based on the soul of the God of Death. The God of Death gets power by knowing the name of the Zanpakutō given to him and having a spiritual dialogue with it. This is the Zanpakutō. So troublesome, Goddess Death felt a little confused. Each Zanpakutō has its own soul, thoughts, and personality. Don't think it is just a weapon. Lucifer shrugged. He didn't really understand the setting of Zanpakutō. He only knew a little about the information about Zanpakutō. In the 523rd chapter of the manga, Nemea Oiwetsu mentioned that all the members of the Godei 13 division, who had over 6,000 members, had temporarily loaned out their nameless Zanpakutō during their time as students in the academy and were officially granted the nameless Zanpakutō when they joined the team. All the Shinigami lived and ate with this Asachi, and through accumulated training, they wrote the essence of their souls into the Asachi and created their own Zanpakutō. In the 540th chapter of the manga, Nemea Oiwetsu mentioned that the raw materials of Zanpakutō were the same as the haiku made by Aizen Sosuke, which was formed by the fusion of the souls of many Shinigami. So, in theory, the source of the power of Zanpakutō is the fused souls of those Shinigami. It sounds like the Soul Society is not a serious place, but it's not surprising, although they claim to be righteous and maintain order. Call my name is. However, Lucifer had just put his hand on one of the Asachi and pulled it out when he heard a voice. Lucifer's pupils shrank, then he put the Asachi back into the sheath as if nothing had happened. I didn't expect to be able to release Zanpakutō right away, and it was this Zanpakutō, but for the sake of safety, Lucifer would not release Zanpakutō here if he didn't want to be discovered by the Quincy's of the Invisible Empire. His death fiddled with it for a long time without any response. Lucifer thought about it, imitated Tia Haribel's behavior of opening the black cavity, and then waved his hand to tear out a black cavity. He just had spiritual pressure, coupled with the terrible power of the Kryptonians. It was very simple to open the black cavity. Let's go. Lucifer took his death back to Hueco Mundo. Not long after, a man dressed as a Quincy appeared where they were, and the man glanced around. Black cavity, is it from Hueco Mundo? Lucifer and his death who returned to Hueco Mundo naturally would not appear in the original place. Lucifer still couldn't locate it, so how could he appear in the original place? But he was not interested in looking for Tia Haribel and the others. He would talk about it after Aizen Sosuke gave them the errand car. Is death, let's start conquering the Zanpakutō. Perhaps it will be easier to release it when fighting against the hollows. Lucifer said to his death. Yes. Isdeth also planned to try this Zanpakutō. Anyway, as long as she fought with it and treated it as a human, she would be able to release it, right? As for Lucifer himself, he pulled out his Zanpakutō after finding a group of hollows. Shatter, Mirror Flower and Water Moon. Isdeth saw the light, and then the group of hollows stood there motionless. Lucifer held his Zanpakutō. Is that your Zanpakutō? Isdeth didn't feel any changes. Yes, this is my Zanpakutō, the strongest illusion-type Zanpakutō, Kyoka Suijetsu. The ability is complete hypnosis, control the opponent's 5 senses, so that the appearance, form, quality, touch, and even smell of a specific object are completely believed to be what the owner wants. Lucifer didn't expect that he would get the same Zanpakutō as Aizen Sosuke. He had only heard of 2 Hyarinmura before, but he didn't expect there were 2 Kyoka Suigetsu. I don't know if I can use it in front of Aizen Sosuke to completely hypnotize him. If it can, it will be interesting. After listening to Lucifer's words, Esdeath felt that he seemed very powerful. Go. Lucifer used the ability of Kyoka Suigetsu to make the group of hollows ignore his existence and rush towards Esdeath. Interesting, I'll try it too. Esdeath pulled out the Shoto. With her combat skills and the Shoto weapon that was specifically designed to deal with hollows, killing them was easy. If it was difficult to simply create ice to fight the enemy before, it was easy now. It seems that this group of hollows is no longer a problem for you. Then let's go to the Great Hollow Forest next. Lucifer said.